my dear compatriots, my brothers and sisters of this great nation, and in a most special way tonight, to the sons and daughters of Igbo land, to every mother in Niue who has wept at night, to every trader in Onitsha who has wondered whether this government sees him, to every young man in Aba whose ambition burns hotter than the forge he walks beside. I say to you tonight, your president sees you, your president hears you, and your president is ready to act. Let me be plain, as I have always been plain. I am not a man who comes to a microphone to play games with your intelligence. You know me. From Lagos, from the trenches of democratic struggle, from the long years when this democracy was not yet born, and men like me paid prices that some of you reading history books can barely imagine. You know that when Asiwaju speaks, he means what he says. And tonight, I mean every single word. We must talk about Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. I know what some of you expect me to say. You expect me to fold my arms, speak in legal language, hide behind the judiciary, and tell you that the matter is sub judice. I have been listening, I have been watching. And let me tell you what I have seen. I have seen a people in pain. I have seen the United Igbo Elders Council rise and warn that silence from leadership is not neutrality. Silence is a wound. I have seen lawyers stand outside courtrooms in Sokoto and Abuja fighting for a man the Court of Appeal once discharged in 2022, a man who is nonetheless serving a life sentence today. I have seen this nation's southeast simmering, and I, as the President of the Federal Republic, cannot in good conscience watch a region that produces some of the finest engineers, traders, lawyers, and thinkers on this continent continue to feel that the presidency in Abuja is their enemy rather than their father. Enough. Let me say what I have never said on a public podium before. The Nnamdi Kanu matter has become bigger than one man. It is now a symbol. And a wise leader does not ignore symbols because symbols become fires. I am not here to say Kanu was right in everything he did. I am not here to re-argue the conviction before Justice Omotosho. That is for the courts. What I am here to say, what I am putting before this nation tonight, is that there is a political and humanitarian dimension to this case that only this presidency has the power to address, and I am ready to address it. But hear me well, a release, when it comes, will not be a free gift handed out on a campaign platform like bags of rice before elections. No, those days are gone. I am a man of conditions. I am a man of structure. And so tonight, I am laying before the nation, openly, transparently, not through back channels and midnight handshakes, the 7 conditions that must be met, that my administration commits to facilitating before the end of next month for a presidential review of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's continued incarceration to be formally concluded. First condition, Nnamdi Kanu, through his legal representatives and verified family channels, must formally and publicly commit to a complete and unconditional abandonment of all calls for violence, secession by force, and economic sabotage of the Nigerian state. I'm not asking him to abandon his Igbo identity. I am not asking him to stop loving Biafra as a cultural memory. I am asking him to love his people enough to choose life over rhetoric. A man who speaks from prison cannot protect the people he claims to lead. Let him choose them. Second condition, IPOB as an organization must publicly stand down all its enforcement arms that have terrorized markets, enforced sit-at-home orders, and made life unbearable for ordinary Igbo citizens who simply want to open their shops on a Monday morning and feed their children. These are the very people IPOB claims to fight for. You cannot liberate a people by strangling the economy one sit at home at a time. The sit at home must end permanently. Third condition, the Southeast governors, all five of them, must come to Aso Rock, sit at a table with my security chiefs, and sign onto a comprehensive regional security framework that integrates Ebubegu, community vigilante structures, and federal forces into a coherent architecture. The insecurity in the Southeast is real. It is devastating. It is driving away investment, but it cannot be solved by blaming Abuja from a distance. It requires governors with the courage to govern. That meeting must happen. It must produce binding commitments. Fourth condition, a formal truth and reconciliation dialogue must be constituted, not a committee that produces a report that collects dust in a ministry somewhere, but a live, nationally televised engagement between Igbo leaders, civil society, federal government representatives, victims of violence on all sides, and credible international observers. The wounds of this nation go back to 1967. We have been applying plasters to a wound that needs surgery. I am commissioning that surgery. Igbo grievances, real, historical, documented grievances, must be heard on the national record, including the question of Igbo presidency, including the question of federal character in the distribution of appointments, including the question of Southeast infrastructure. All of it on the table, in the open. Fifth condition, the federal government, through the Ministry of Justice, must, in parallel with any release process, constitute a special review panel to examine the circumstances of Kanu's rendition from Kenya in 2021, in light of the Federal High Court's own findings that the rendition was extraordinary and in violation of international law. Justice Evelyn Aniadike said it plainly. The court awarded damages. I will not pretend that did not happen. A government that claims to stand for rule of law must follow the rule of law even when it is inconvenient, especially when it is inconvenient. This review must produce a public report. I am ashamed of those who want your vote and offer you nothing but a bag of rice, a borrowed car in a convoy, and a handshake photo they post on Instagram. Igbo people built Lagos. Half of what you celebrate as the Lagos miracle, the trade, the hustle, the money that moves, bears the fingerprints of Igbo enterprise. I know this. I have lived this. When I governed Lagos, I did not look at an Igbo trader and see a foreigner. I saw a Nigerian. I saw a contributor. I saw a builder. That is still how I see you today from this Aso Rock that belongs to all of us. The question of Igbo presidency is not one I will dodge tonight. Nigeria has not had an Igbo president since Nnamdi Azikiwe in ceremonial form. That is a fact the entire nation must sit with, honestly. My position is clear. I support zoning frameworks that ensure that no section of this nation feels permanently excluded from the presidency. I will work actively within my party to ensure that the conversation about 2031, yes, 2031, includes a serious structural pathway for Igbo presidency. This is not a bribe, this is justice. And if you know me, you know that I have always believed that political justice is the oxygen that keeps democracies alive. To the youth of Igbo land, the Anambra boy coding in a co-working space, the Enugu girl who graduated top of her class in medicine and is wondering whether Nigeria deserves her talents, the Imo man who sells shoes in Alaba and dreams of a factory, I say to you, do not leave. Stay and build. This government is going to make it worth staying. The Port Harcourt Aba Industrial Zone is not a slogan. The Southeast Innovation Hub that my Economic Advisory Council has proposed is not a slogan. The 500 billion targeted investment package for the Southeast that I am directing the Minister of Finance to structure within the next 60 days. That is not a slogan. That is a directive with teeth. And to those who will say that all of this is too late, that the damage is already done, that no speech can heal the scars of decades, I hear you. You are not wrong that scars remain. You are wrong if you believe scars cannot heal. Nigeria has healed before. Nigeria has surprised the world before. A country that survived what we survived together is not a country without extraordinary resilience. Our unity has been tested and it has bent. It has not broken and it will not break on my watch. Nnamdi Kanu is one man. But the question his case raises is a question for all of us. What kind of Nigeria do we want to be? Do we want to be a country where a man who has appealed his conviction rots in Sokoto and his case becomes a rallying cry that tears regions apart? Or do we want to be a country that demonstrates that our institutions can handle complexity, that our democracy is mature enough to hold grievance and law in the same hand without crushing? Either. I am choosing the second Nigeria. I am inviting you, all of you, Igbo and Yoruba, Hausa and Ijaw, Tiv and Efik, every nationality under this green, white, green, to choose it with me. The conditions I have set are serious. They are achievable. They must be met before the end of next month. And when they are met, this president will act. Nigeria will be great. The Southeast will rise. And when future generations write the story of how this country found itself again, let them write that. In April of 26, a president stood up, spoke plainly, and chose to heal rather than to hide. Thank you. God bless the Southeast. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. My dear compatriots, my brothers and sisters of this great nation, and in a most special way tonight, to the sons and daughters of Igbo land, to every mother in Niue who has wept at night, to every trader in Onitsha who has wondered whether this government sees him, to every young man in Aba whose ambition burns hotter than the forge he walks beside. I say to you tonight, your president sees you, your president hears you, and your president is ready to act. Let me be plain, as I have always been plain.